Public speaking, whether it's giving a presentation, leading a meeting, or simply voicing an idea in a meeting, can be a daunting experience for many of us. The fear of standing up in front of a group and speaking out is one of the most common and intense fears out there. But why does public speaking make us feel so vulnerable? And why do we often experience such strong anxiety about it? The answer lies in our evolutionary past and the powerful psychological mechanisms that developed to keep our ancestors safe. To understand why public speaking triggers anxiety, in this video we'll explore the deep-seated human need for social acceptance and the brain's response to rejection, perceived or otherwise. I'm Jo Banks. I've been a professional executive business coach for 16 years and I'm sharing what I know. So let's take a look first at the evolutionary need for social acceptance. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors depended on living in tribes to survive. The tribe provided food, shelter, protection, and social support, which were all essential for survival in a harsh environment. If an individual was cast out from the group, their chances of survival would be significantly reduced, leaving them vulnerable to predators, lack of food, and harsh natural conditions. Because being accepted by the group was vital for survival, evolution favoured individuals who were sensitive to the threat of social rejection. Over time, our brains developed a powerful need for social belonging, a mechanism that helped ensure that we would conform, cooperate, and maintain positive relationships with others. This survival-driven need to fit in and be accepted by others still affects us today, even though our lives have changed dramatically. In modern society, the stakes are no longer life and death, but our brains still interpret social situations that involve potential rejection as threats to our survival. Public speaking puts us in a vulnerable position where others are evaluating us. When we stand up in front of a group, we risk making mistakes, stumbling over our words, or being judged negatively by our audience. All scenarios our brains perceive as threats to our social standing and belonging. Social rejection and the pain response. The anxiety we experience when speaking in public is not just a matter of nerves. It's linked to the way our brain processes social pain. Research has shown that the same areas of the brain that are activated when we experience physical pain are also activated when we feel the pain of social rejection. A study by Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA found that the anterior cingulate cortex, a part of the brain's limbic system that plays a key role in emotional and cognitive control and processing physical pain, also lights up during experiences of social rejection. This means that when we fear judgment or criticism of the audience, our brain responds as if we were experiencing physical pain. This overlap between physical and social pain explains why the thought of public speaking can be so terrifying. It isn't just about feeling nervous. It's about the deep discomfort associated with the possibility of being rejected or negatively evaluated by others. Our brains perceive this as a threat to our safety, which triggers the fight or flight response, causing symptoms like sweating, a racing heart, or even shaking. That sudden urge to get away or go to the bathroom are symptoms of an activated nervous system, as I've discussed in many of my previous videos. I'll leave some links below if you want to look at that in more detail. The fear of judgment. Public speaking also involves a high degree of visibility. Unlike one-to-one conversations, public speaking puts us in the spotlight where all eyes are on us. This visibility can make us hyper aware of the potential for judgment. We worry about saying the wrong thing, stumbling over our words, or appearing awkward, all of which might lead to negative evaluations from our audience. This fear of judgment taps into our natural desire to be liked and accepted. The idea that others might judge us harshly can feel like a threat to our social bonds, triggering anxiety and making public speaking feel like a daunting challenge. This is another throwback to our early ancestors when getting thrown out of the tribe meant certain death. Although we like to think we're so sophisticated now, we're really not. We're still running the old survival mechanisms that our earliest ancestors developed to keep them safe and to ensure survival. 5 strategies to overcome the fear of public speaking. While the fear of public speaking is rooted in our evolutionary past, it doesn't have to control us. There are effective strategies that can help you reframe your mindset and reduce the anxiety associated with speaking in front of others. Here are 5 strategies to help you overcome your fear of public speaking. Number 1, reframe your perspective. Focus on your audience, not on yourself. One of the main reasons we feel anxious about public speaking is because we become overly focused on ourselves, how we look, how we sound, and whether we're coming across as competent. This self-focused mindset increases anxiety and makes us hyper aware of every little mistake. Instead, try to shift your focus to your audience. Public speaking is not about being perfect. It's about communicating a message that is meaningful to your listeners. Think about the value you are providing to your audience, whether that's information, insights, or inspiration. By focusing on how you can help or connect with your audience, you can take the pressure off yourself and reduce your anxiety. Number 2, normalise your fear. Recognise that it's human. It's important to recognise that the fear of public speaking is completely normal. Most people experience some degree of anxiety before speaking in public, even experienced speakers, and I count myself as one of those. This fear is a natural part of being human, and it's tied to our need for social acceptance. It isn't a sign of weakness. It's a normal response to a challenging situation. When you normalise your fear, it becomes easier to manage. Remember that feeling nervous doesn't mean you're going to fail. It means you care about what you're doing, and that's a good thing. Number 3, prepare thoroughly and practice. Preparation is one of the most effective ways to reduce anxiety. The more familiar you are with the material, the more confident you will feel when it comes to your time to speak. Practice your presentation multiple times, ideally in front of a trusted friend or family member who can provide constructive feedback. Practicing also helps you become more comfortable with the flow of your presentation, which reduces the likelihood of getting stuck or losing your place. The more you practice, the more your brain will become accustomed to the experience, which can help reduce the anxiety. I also recommend videoing yourself, and I know that can be nerve-inducing in itself, but it allows you to see how your presentation flows and where you might be displaying unhelpful behaviours or nervous mannerisms. Use relaxation techniques to calm your nerves. As I've already mentioned, when we're anxious, our bodies enter a state of heightened arousal, the fight, flight, freeze stress response. This can lead to symptoms like racing heart, shallow breathing, and trembling. It's helpful to use relaxation techniques to calm your body and mind to counteract these physical symptoms. Deep breathing is a simple yet effective technique that can help reduce anxiety. Practice taking slow, deep breaths, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 2, exhaling for 8 counts, and holding for 2 counts, and repeating that for about 5 minutes. This helps activate the body's relaxation response, the parasympathetic nervous system, which can counteract the effects of the anxiety. Visualization is another helpful technique, and I teach this in detail when I teach presentation skills. for a few days before your presentation, right up to a few minutes before, visualize yourself speaking confidently and calmly. Imagine your audience responding positively and picture the experience going smoothly from actually arriving at the venue to delivering your content and afterwards. Visualization can help reduce anxiety and build your confidence. Number 5, gradual exposure. Start small and build your confidence. If the thought of giving a formal presentation feels overwhelming, start small and gradually build up your confidence. You don't need to jump straight into speaking to a large audience. Instead, look for opportunities to practice speaking in low-stakes situations. This could involve speaking up in a small meeting, giving a brief update to your team, or practicing in front of a friend. Gradual exposure helps desensitize you to the fear of public speaking. As you gain experience and have positive interactions, your brain will start to reframe public speaking as a less threatening activity. Over time, you'll feel more comfortable and confident speaking in front of larger groups. It may be that you never get to love it, but you can get through it without feeling utter anxiety and stress. Additional tips. A large part of my business centres around public speaking, whether that's training or motivational speaking, and sometimes that means doing it in front of thousands of people, both in person and virtually. So here are some of my additional tips that I teach in my presentation skills courses. Number 1, you know your content, but the audience doesn't. If you do happen to go wrong, no one will know except you. Take a breath and carry on. Number 2, never try to follow a detailed script. It's almost impossible to read when you've triggered your stress response because your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for critical thinking, analytics, and close work, goes offline. Instead, I recommend having a presentation with minimum pertinent bullet points to remind you of your content. After all, it is your content, it is your presentation, it is what you want to speak about. You shouldn't need a detailed script. Number 3, it's okay not to know the answer. You don't have to know the answer to every question. Be upfront and tell the person that you don't know, but you'll find out and get back to them. Never bluff, lie, or guess. It undermines your credibility. It's much better to say, I don't know, but I will find out and get back to you. Number 4, prepare potential questions. Critically analyse your presentation and consider the types of questions you'd ask if you were watching someone else deliver it. Ask yourself, what's the worst question I could possibly be asked on this topic? This is a great way to preempt any potential difficulties on the day. Number 5, use EFT tapping. EFT tapping is a clinically proven method for reducing nerves. I've helped many clients overcome crippling presentation nerves using EFT. I've got a video on it. I'll leave the link below. The wrap up. The fear of public speaking is deeply rooted in our evolutionary past, driven by our need for social acceptance and our sensitivity to rejection. Our brains are wired to perceive social judgment as a threat, which triggers the same neural responses as physical pain. This makes public speaking feel uncomfortable, intimidating, and even painful. However, by understanding the underlying reasons for our fear, we can begin to address it in a more constructive way. Reframing our perspective to focus on our audience, normalising our fear, preparing thoroughly and using relaxation techniques, as well as gradually exposing ourselves to public speaking opportunities, are all effective strategies for overcoming anxiety. Remember, public speaking is a skill that can be learned and improved with practice. The goal isn't necessarily to eliminate fear entirely, because a little bit is good, but to learn how to manage it and use it to your advantage. With time, practice and patience, you can transform your fear of public speaking into a source of empowerment, one that allows you to share your ideas, connect with others, and make a meaningful impact. What next? If you have anything you'd like to add to this video, or you have any topics you'd like to see me cover in the future, please leave it in the comments section below. I read and respond to everything and really love interacting with you all. If you enjoyed this video, please support the channel with a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. Finally, thank you to everybody who stays until the very end, and thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me.